right, but everybody, welcome back to the Migrant podcast. This is the second half or second episode if we decide to split this up for the MTP4, I believe. The second topic is where's the fair use? Before we do that, though, I forgot to do the new guest question, and that question is: if you found yourself in the alternate reality, what would you do? Zarek?
Alternate reality? Oh, which one?
It's a neighboring reality to this one, almost identical.
That's a very good question. What I would probably do is... hell, is there time dilation in it? Can I know the future?
Let's just say it's 10 years more in the future.
Alrighty then.
Whoa.
Yeah, there we go. So, I would probably try to find, after I... damn it. I wasn't prepared for this question. No, seriously though. Well, I would try to use the information from the future, when I go back, but find a lottery ticket or something, but if I can't, then I can't, I have no catastrophic, supervillain plans.
So you want to do a Back to the Future essentially.
I want to be Biff without the stupidity.
All right, Roawyn.
Well, so what's the main differences in this alternate reality? It's just the same world as ours, except 10 years in the future?
But there's different variations of stuff.
Okay.
For example, you were at a stoplight yesterday, but you took a left, the other Rowan took a right.
Oh, okay. So does the other me exist in this world right now?
I see no reason why not, but you're trying to define the question more.
Well, it does make a difference. I am going to go and find the alternate me, and we are going to lay plans to conquer this alternate universe together. And we'll probably die horribly in the process, so we'll see how that goes.
Josh?
Oh, yeah, the question ended up changing so much. I was going to go just immediately for the sports almanac. That was going to be my answer. But if there's slight variations, my luck is that one of those variations would be that the almanac is basically worthless and I lose all my money. I guess I would, if I can meet my future self, I think that would be very interesting.
Alternate.
Or alternate self that is also 10 years in the future? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. I would do that. That might sound like super narcissistic or something, but I think it'd be cool to meet your future self, your future alternate self, and I don't know, challenge him to an arm wrestle match or something.
And remember, when you kill yourself, it doesn't count as murder. I don't know if you know what I'm referencing there, but that's fine. For me, I would see what pop culture turned out to be on that. For example, did Fallout exist or did Wasteland expand?
Oh, that's a good one.
Or was the third X-Men movie actually good?
I did like the way they basically undid the third X-Men movie in the new one, in the Days of Future Past. I loved that, the fact that they basically said, yes, this was a thing, and now it's not.
And did Star Wars become real?
Oh shit.
Oh, dude, that's great. What you should do...
Stargate get canceled?
What you should do is grab, the DVDs for all the future Star Wars movies, all future video games, and then bring it back and sell it for, tons and tons of money. Mm-hmm. Just, on eBay or something.
Or
somebody would pay a lot of money for that.
It's the Mantis.
The Mantis. I hope not.
I don't know if you ever watched Fringe, but that question was addressed down there. All right, so basically what are your guys' basic fair... Wow, words. Fair use thoughts.
All right. Fair use impacts, I'd say, Rowan, Josh, and myself most. And Josh more than anybody, me more than Rowan, because, the scale of our incomes being proportional to, what
the threat level.
Yes, the threat level, exactly. Because someone takes down Shoddycast, then all they have left is the Patreon, and then the Patreon subscribers go away because, the point is the same thing could happen to me, except it'd be more catastrophic, because multiple people losing their jobs, all because some idiot company in France decided to issue 3 copyright strikes because your game used some kind of variation on their audio.
Yeah.
Rowan?
Exactly. Let me paint you guys a picture here, the people listening to this. I'm assuming the majority of you guys have jobs. Just imagine going to work every day just with this lingering thing over your head that it can your whole for really no mistake or no like thing that you did wrong, it can all just be pulled away from you in an instant. And not only that, but like it's happening a lot in your industry. Like just people losing their jobs for really no specific reason. Like Zara said, because somebody in France had a bad day or something. You know, it's terrible that YouTubers have to essentially live in fear every day that all their work, and it's not only just money definitely plays a big role in it to where, you know, people have made this their jobs and they can lose that all for really no good reason, but also the sweat equity. Zarek and you guys can attest to how much work you've put into your channels, month after month, some people years, you know, and just to have that ripped away really for no good reason is just so despicable.
I think if we look at I Hate Everything, that is a prime example of just how horrible the situation is, where he had a notice of a community guideline strike in his email box, and then he tried to log on to address that strike, and his channel was gone. And
Jeez.
that you know, he one of his a much larger channel than his basically put a video up on his behalf where he talked about this, and his channel was instantly restored. You know, and you look at that, like, and I ask myself, like, I'm not as big as Shoddycast. I only have close to 16,000 subscribers. I make enough money, yes, but through my other avenues, but this could all go away. You know, my entire all my goals and work up till now could just disappear because for some stupid reason that could be instantly undone if I was connected with somebody big enough. You know what I mean? But I'm not. Yeah. So I'm in fear, you know, even though, as Josh said, a lingering doubt in the back of my head, like, okay, why am I focusing more on streaming? Well, because YouTube is fairly inconsistent with its advertising revenue, and there's that lingering threat of getting a copyright strike taking down portions of my channel. You know that one copyright strike, you can lose access to certain features on your channel?
Absolutely.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you can lose access to certain features with just one copyright strike. Now, you don't always lose access to those features, but for about 3 months, just shy of which, because, you know, it takes 30 days to contest the first strike, and then it takes another 30 days for the appeal to go through, because what happens is they don't okay, let me backpedal and explain the process. So you get a copyright, you get someone flagging your video. You can basically issue a counterclaim. That counterclaim takes 30 days to time out, more or less. And if they can release the content at any time, but they never do. So, but usually on the 29th day, they go ahead and they reinstate the claim and issue a copyright strike. Okay, so on that 29th day, all of a sudden your situation just got worse. Now you appeal that copyright strike, which is basically saying, hey, I'm in the right here, and I'm going to take you to court over it. And they have 30 days to agree to see you in court, or they lose their claim and everything is restored. So 60 days go by before you get your stuff back. And I lost my streaming privileges for 60 days.
Here's the scariest thing about that going to court. Like, unless you have a lot of disposable income, even if you're in the right, you're going to spend a lot of money. And unless your channel is making you a lot of money, you're spending a lot of money to defend, you know, your property and your rights to exist. And the contender, if they're a huge company, they've basically lost nothing.
And if you lose, you owe them court costs. But Josh, go on.
Yeah, this is going to sound really bad, but honestly, this is what I think has to happen eventually, is somebody has to be sued eventually. And I hope it's one of these bigger channels, because, yes, the smaller channels are the most vulnerable. I would love, and I would take the bullet for this, somebody, some game company to sue one of these bigger YouTube channels, because what it's going to take is some sort of court ruling for us
That's right.
to hash this all out. So it's gonna have to go to court eventually. If it's gonna happen, and that's one of the great things about the YouTube community is that they would rally behind whoever was getting sued. And oh God, just throw up a donation page. I will donate whatever amount I can to make sure that defendant wins their case. Because honestly, I think ultimately that's what will be decided in a courtroom,
actually,
some sort of courtroom battle.
That has actually already happened. Lens versus Universal Music. If you go to Leonard French's channel, he's a digital millennium lawyer, I believe. Basically, it was a dancing baby, and music was playing in the background. The company sued or took it down. They took him to court, and the ruling was favored in the dancing baby's owner's video. And
so in the defendants,
Yep.
in the
Was that the one with the Prince music in the background?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the precedent that's been set now, legal precedent, is that companies must consider fair use prior to issuing a takedown, meaning that if you can prove that no consideration actually took place, say a robot took it down automatically, then you win de facto in theory. I'm not a lawyer, but that is the precedent as it was explained to me.
You just play one on TV.
Yeah, the real problem with this system, and God, YouTube's to blame for this, is the whole idea that it is a guilty until proven innocent sort of system. Whereas Eric was talking about these 30 days and all that, you're incurring penalties straight away just for getting that flag there on your video. And it can be by someone doing it manually. It can be by just a machine that crawls around YouTube and flags stuff like the Content ID.
YouTube's scared though, and the reason is because they nearly got sued out of existence by Viacom. And so they set up this system as an emergency. I will appease you, oh great Viacom. YouTube bowing its head and kowtowing like the Egyptians before the Great Sphinx. And basically this is the result, this altar built to Viacom is what's screwing us.
Yeah.
And you know what YouTube's solution, sorry, just real quick, YouTube's solution was supposed to be the whole MCN and networks. The whole idea of an MCN and protecting from copyright strike and stuff like that, where there's too many channels, too many videos being uploaded every minute for YouTube to keep. I totally get that. The MCN, the networks, were supposed to be the answer, where they were supposed to be the ones to police YouTubers under their umbrella, and in turn they would protect from this sort of thing. But the problem is that the MCNs aren't working like that. They've also separated it themselves and have backed up from it because they don't want to be held liable either. And it's opened it up to where, yes, it's every man for himself. It's survival of the fittest sort of thing. And that's why we have our strength is in numbers, right? Communities have to be able to, because like Zarek was saying, I would rather be a bigger channel, right, dealing with this problem than a smaller one. Because a bigger channel, if they have a problem, they're going to at least have people behind them. The people who are most vulnerable here are the up and comers, the future YouTube stars, the future YouTube channels that go on to be big. I had and Matt, we had talked about this in a previous podcast, but I very much, there was the possibility I would have never been here today talking with you guys, because I had that first YouTube channel I did on Skyrim, got flagged, killed almost immediately. I think I was up for like a month or two. And I set my YouTube dream aside for months and months afterwards. I almost never picked it up again. And I think and this is something we have to keep in mind, every day that these practices are allowed to happen, we're being robbed of YouTubers that we don't even know could have existed. You know what I mean? We've already been robbed of good talent that could have arose on YouTube, and that's honestly, like, we have a YouTube that's not as good as it could have been if this had been sorted out sooner. So it's something that has to be worked out sooner rather than later too.
All right. I guess the next topic is, how would you think about improving it? Put the money in a separate account, and whoever wins the dispute gets the money. 2, don't delete accounts, disable them from public view, and I'll still allow them to access the account. 3, remove the penalties until the third strike, so i.e. the disable. And 4, lower the time to like 15 days instead of 30 days. Zerk?
I agree completely. I realize, okay, you need a minimum of 2 weeks in order for a legal notice to be sent to the agent of service of process, and just for that, the legal process to go through in any situation. So minimum of 2 weeks. You give it 5 extra days, you get basically 15 days. That is absolutely reasonable. I know why you can't have it immediately, but the way I see it is that with basically anyone can claim any video for any reason. They can then steal the money provided they have a valid AdSense account, and there's no harm done to them when the claim expires. So for 60 days, they can steal your advertising revenue without any actual proof other than their claim. And here, people say, well, it's a DCMA strike. The thing is that it is not actually a DCMA. It's YouTube's system. These are not actual real DCMA claims, because falsely issuing a real DCMA claim is perjury under the law. Okay? This is YouTube's closed system. They don't want it to go to the DCMA stage because that's serious legal business. They want to keep it in their YouTube playground. And that's where the problem is that if it had to go to a real DCMA claim, then these people would be perjuring themselves trying to take your videos down, and you'd be like, we're going to sue the crap out of you. I would have a bit of money right now. Let's put it like that. A bit more than I do now.
Roawyn?
The burden of proof lies on the guilty. Well, I shouldn't say the guilty party, the accused. So in everything else, you're innocent until proven guilty. In this arena, you're guilty until you can prove you're innocent. And anybody can accuse you of guilt. I could go on to Zarek's channel and be like, that video belongs to me, that video belongs to me, that video belongs to me. And until he actually said, well, these are the reasons why that is complete BS, I would basically be assumed to be in the right. Whereas it should be that you go, hey, that video belongs to me, and here's why. You send it to YouTube. It goes to, a panel or maybe even an automated process where, somehow they determine, is this a claim that we need to look into? And at that point, then yes, maybe they should, put a freeze on the video or the channel. But they're just like, oh, they've said you're guilty, so you're going to have to explain why you're not guilty to us. And if you're wrong, well, then they can take legal action against you. Doesn't hardly seem an intelligent way to do things.
That's actually kind of funny. I'm actually more in favor of assuming the guilty because people are people, but they should not get a penalty on their channel for getting disabled and everything. And if the same person or the same video keeps getting these docs, then the person that's claiming they're guilty should be punished.
Yeah. The big problem is that these people who you are not guilty of what you're being accused of, but the accuser is able to continue accusing without any repercussions. If this were an actual court and you were actually trying to sue multiple people wrongly, you would be declared under the law a fictitious litigant and be barred from issuing any more lawsuits. You would have to have a lawyer represent you from then on, and that lawyer's own credentials on the bar would be put on the line in that case. So no one would ever represent a fictitious litigant. And that's something that needs to happen here. Is there needs to be a risk. Instead, what these companies do is they claim, they wait. When you counterclaim, they when you appeal, they let it time out then, and they've already stolen your first 2 months of income.
And that's the most revenue you would get in that video.
Yes, and yes, right there. You highlighted it perfectly.
Exactly.
And that's the craziest thing about it. And Zarek, I want to highlight that point further because this has to be driven home with people, is that the abuse will only continue and get worse and worse and worse. If there's no accountability and no repercussions for the people accusing and then are found totally false, right? They're not only no repercussions, they're not only not any consequences, but they're actually getting rewarded. They get that first month or two of your revenue. They get to keep that even if you're the one found in the right. They are rewarded for it. And that's why we're starting to see something that scares the living hell out of me, are these companies that are actually being built and brought up around this idea that they can go out and put a bunch of false claims on tons of YouTube videos that they have no business doing, and then collect a bunch of the revenue. And even if they're found they're in the wrong, they get to keep all that money. This is becoming a business practice. Companies have been incorporated for this new fraudulent business practice. And yeah, if you want to talk about abuse, it's only going to get a whole lot worse if there's no consequence for the accuser.
That's absolutely right.
That actually does make a scary, concept, because what is stopping somebody from forming a network of channels and then using that to basically muscle out competition? Like, okay, so we've got, Fallout 4 videos. Anyone else who has Fallout 4 videos, we're gonna go after and, start copyright flagging them to disrupt their channels. Let our videos get all the views.
We've already seen this. We've already seen this in terms of the Fine Brothers. The Fine Brothers have taken down other channels. This is a matter of record. People have come forward where they basically had their channels copyright struck because their stuff was too similar. And the first reaction video was done in was it the 60s, where this person was filmed in front of a movie theater and like in front of a movie screen, and they were being filmed watching the movie. That you can look that up on YouTube. Look up first reaction video. It exists. So the Fine Brothers didn't have like the first reaction video, but they tried to muscle people out of it, and then they tried to trademark the concept of that, and knowing that if they get that legal trademark, they're obligated by law to defend that trademark. So they were going to do exactly what you were talking about, Rowan, with their React world. Anyone who isn't under our protective umbrella, in theory, would be attacked. And that's racketeering. And
now you got to pay us protection money.
Exactly. If ShoddyCast went and, because let's face it, I did a little parody in my channel video. If you go to my channel and actually watch the trailer, I have the white gold tower zooming in from Oblivion, and I go, Tamriel. If you think this is like ShoddyCast's opening, you're absolutely right. It's a parody. It is absolutely a parody. But
oh shit, I gotta go flag that shit, man. I gotta get my money.
Right?
Gotta get my cut.
You get your cut, and then we get into a copyright battle, and that's gonna be fun because it turns out neither of us own it. Bethesda owns it.
And that's the funny thing about it too. Is that's crazy that people can put claims on stuff of gameplay footage, for instance. I think is a great one.
Yeah.
Gameplay footage. People can go in, flag it, and be like, let us remember that if you really want to talk who's the owner of this work, it's not even the YouTuber as far as gameplay goes either. It's the developer. They're the ones that made the content. We're all using it under fair use, absolutely, but it's theirs. Like,
yeah, that's scary to me because I've got 4 almost hour-long lore videos where I go into deep discussion, but I'm using game assets to show that off. It's on someone else's intellectual property, meaning that if Bethesda got pissed at me, they could take my channel down. And I'm scared of that. And I'm sure that somewhere deep down, you say something about Fallout that Bethesda doesn't like, or worse off, the ZeniMax overlords don't like, and bam, there goes ShoddyCast, there goes Zhakaron, there goes pretty much everybody. Nintendo is a prime example of that. You have, the Mario ROM hacks? Those were extremely popular because they were better than most Mario games. Well, as soon as Mario Maker came out and they realized people were making their own Mario games, they took down every video associated with ROM hacks they could find.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
With that.
Yeah.
Nintendo's really awful with that. And yeah, another thing I want to point out is that this isn't even theory. The scary scenario where you painted is absolutely true and happening, where game critics will critique a game, and then a game developer will come and remove it or flag it, or should put a strike on it just because they don't like the opinion. So it's terrible practice.
Speaking of which, there have been a few other things in the system where they just copyrighted, but it's been incompatible. For example, there was not Jimquisition. There's a guy associated with Nostalgia Critic. They're just talking about the movie, and the company copyright claimed it from them recording themselves in the car talking about
the movie. Yes.
The second thing was there was a podcast for co-optional podcast. They put a minute of the trailer into the Nintendo trailer into the podcast for 3 hours, and Nintendo claimed the whole video. And then the third thing was that Pokemon Company, the guy had the license, and the lawyer end of the company took down their channel because they were coming out with a product, but the guy had the license.
Yes. And that's the scary part, is that you can be legally in the right, and until you've gone through the steps of, you counterclaim it, then you appeal, and after 60 days, assuming they don't want to fight you in court, which 99% of the time they don't want to fight you in court because they're deathly afraid that you will have the backing of, say, the video game lawyer or someone else, in which case, bam, you've just set legal precedent against them, and their whole house of cards comes tumbling down. It's as precarious for them in their situation, like on the side of, like, if we were to take them to court and we win, we get court costs plus punitive damages because they basically stole our income. I would like you to now, basically they asked the court to estimate how much money this video would have made, and because this was basically illegal, let's do triple damages. And that's what they're afraid of.
They're like, how much money? Oh, go on.
Speaking of which, of the censorship thing for people that might comment on this, because YouTube is a private company. This is a company using YouTube's system that provide the tools to allow them to regulate it but not abuse it, to take down stuff that's in their right, but they're not. If YouTube were to go down and take something down, though, that is different because it's still a private organization, but it's YouTube doing it, so it's their house. Same for when Zarek bans someone that's being trouble in his stream. They complain, you're barring my free speech. You're in my house. I don't want you slandering me in my house. You have other outlets you can do that on. Go away.
Exactly. I encourage people who have a problem with me to go to Reddit, go to Twitter, talk about it. You'll only bring people to my channel but seriously, when someone's being disruptive on a stream, I'm still at a level where I can interact with my viewers, and I want to be able to do that as long as possible. But when someone's being disruptive, they gotta go. And I feel it's the same way with YouTube. YouTube itself has the rights to say, oh well, this Jew burning video, for example, where these guys talk about how they want to burn all the Jews. Maybe we don't want that on YouTube. And when YouTube makes that decision, they are a private company. We're using their platform, and we have to respect their rules. But at the same time, when someone else uses it and says, we don't like you talking about, say, I'm just going to say Donald Trump. We don't like you talking about Donald Trump in this way. So we're going to do a copyright strike on your video because you used 3.5 seconds of footage from one of our campaign videos. And that is wrong. And that violates our fair use. And pretty much, keep in mind, there's no fair use laws. It's fair use doctrine. So it's all up in the air. Like, it's a house of cards for everybody, and it could all just come tumbling down.
Speaking of which, this has confused me a little bit. YouTube is an American-based company. When foreign companies do copyright strikes, does YouTube have to address to the foreign companies' copyright laws or the American copyright laws?
Okay.
Same for the people that upload the video.
Here's what happens. YouTube, for the most part, uses United States copyright law. However, they reserve the right to block the video in all countries that are in certain countries. So imagine if like this one company in France had a problem with your video. They could block it just in France. They can do that. But most of the time, they want to steal your income. They don't want to copyright strike your stuff. What ends up happening is, this is most popular. There's an anime network. They do specifically anime review videos, top 10 lists, things like that. This one company, I kept saying France because I've had to deal with them as well. This one French company has licenses from Japan. Like they went to Japan, they acquired a bunch of music licenses. Anyone who uses that music, they immediately copyright. They copyright claim it, where they steal the monetization. And the reason they do this is because, number one, they can, and number two, they've legally bought the rights to use the music, so they are doing it under the guise of protecting their rights, even though they only have the rights to use that music in France. They could just block it in France, but they don't, because it's advantageous for them to steal the revenue worldwide. That's another problem with YouTube's system.
Josh?
Yeah.
Oh no, I have nothing to add. I think I have nothing to add there. Absolutely. So, what I do want to bring up again, though, is the solution for this, because I do like to, when I do critique something, to offer up a solution, and I do want to harken back to this idea that MCNs. How many of you guys here are partnered under a MCN? A network.
I'm too small.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No. Here's the problem. MCNs were something big. Like you've got Polaris, for example, which is a and some people will argue otherwise, but they are a smaller MCN that focuses on a select number of people, managing them, getting them brand deals, and pretty much just progressing things. That they're a proper MCN. Then you have larger ones like Machinima or Full Screen. And, keep in mind that I'm not speaking factually. I'm speaking from my own experiences talking to different people. So this might not be factual, but from what I understand, they take your money and do nothing for you, pretty much. They just want to get you locked into a contract. And if not locked into a contract, just in a contract in general, where they can take your money without giving you anything in return. And the things they do offer you in return, you could have gotten yourself via YouTube. This needs to change. MCNs need to have a purpose, and I believe Josh was talking about that. So let's get back to Josh.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that's the reason why I would advise against anyone partnering with Machinima or any of those. The only reason anyone here should partner with an MCN, especially since it is so easy now just to partner with YouTube directly itself, MCNs, and this is how I thought they were supposed to work. There's two categories when you partner with an MCN. Again, I'm going to make the same disclaimer that Zarek said here, where I don't want to say that I read this in the YouTube manual, because sadly those don't exist. This is just my experience with talking with other YouTubers. But the way I understand it, under networks, there's two ways you can be partnered. You're either regularly partnered with a MCN just as a normal partner, or you're a managed partner with an MCN. I am lucky enough with the Shoddycast to be partnered with Curse's MCN as a managed partner. And what that means is that I'm essentially, the Shoddycast is protected from any sort of automatic content ID system. So YouTube's automatic content ID system doesn't apply to our channel. It passes over it for the sole reason that Curse has set us to manage, meaning they are responsible, liable for us even, if we're to get in trouble with any sort of legal stuff. It's on them. And so they have a serious incentive then. And again, I think if they're taking 10% of our profits, this should be part of the deal. And sometimes it's much more than that, by the way.
Josh, yes.
Machinima was like 40%, right?
Yeah,
Something crazy.
I was going to say that a lot of networks will try to do either 60-40 or 40-60. These networks, they're predatory in nature, because you're just an up-and-comer. You got about 1,000 subscribers, and that's where they try to hook you. I said no, because I looked at the statistics, I looked at what they were offering, and I said, I can do all of this. And but yes, you're right. YouTubers fought hard for that 10%. I believe that it was actually Total Biscuit who said that. He fought tooth and nail to get that 10% and for himself and other people who he was associated with. So again, sorry for interrupting you, Josh, but that is go ahead.
Oh no,
you're a
absolutely
strong
right.
independent channel, and you don't need no network.
No, definitely predatory in nature, especially when you're talking about. And again, I'm going to throw Machinima under the bus because let me tell you, they've really earned it. You got these lock-in contracts as well. So if you make that mistake early on as a channel and you sign up on the wrong MCN and didn't do your homework properly, you can be screwed for years and years down the road, right? Terrible. So the least they can do is MCNs, I think, should be required, if they're going to take you on as a channel, to set you to that managed partner status, because that's only a few channels have that thing. But all channels, I think, partnered under an MCN should have that managed partner status, and that's who should be policing. Because again, YouTube themselves can't police everything, but networks can police the YouTubers under their umbrella, and at the very least protect them for taking a portion of their profits. Because that's it. I love Curse. I'm gonna sing the praises of Curse because they just take that 10% and offer that protection. But that's it. That's all. If that disappeared, if that protection was no longer there, I would leave them tomorrow because you're absolutely right. They promise, oh, we'll give you higher CPM, we'll give you sponsorship deals, stuff like that. That is almost never true. It's what you want is a managed partnership status in an MCN or nothing.
I can tell you right now that in terms of YouTube success, I've never had any more success than when I simply went to another YouTuber and said, I like what you're talking about. Let's talk about this together. Let me do something based on your content and we'll play off each other. You know, not a partnership, but at the same time, a collaboration. And I find that is where success lies in YouTube, is simply, it's a win-win situation because people watch Shoddycast, then oftentimes they will find one of my lore videos off of a Shoddycast video in the recommended links because it's a lore video, it's a lore video. And so, you know, I will get so many people from them without even, you know, what I'm trying to say is that there's no magic bullet. Like, that you're not just going to get discovered like these people who go to Hollywood and just hang around the studios expecting to suddenly, you know, become an actor. You know what I mean? That's what it seems like, is these people, you know, they see you can get higher values for your channel, and they actually hire people specifically as salesmen. And I spent some time basically picking apart this guy's argument because, you know, I spent years in sales, so I was just like, okay, you didn't do your closing loop correctly. Let's go in for the, you know, the pitch again. And it was fucking hilarious because you know, at the end of it, I just said, this isn't for me, but here's how you can improve as a salesman. You know, I gave him tips.
Oh,
yes, and I want to highlight what you just said there about how MCNs or some guys promising you, like, because that is one of their pools that their sales department will give you. They'll say, oh, listen, you partner with us, and you know we can promise you more cost per view. We can also promise that you'll get more views. We'll help you grow, and there's no actual backing to that at all. They don't follow through on that ever. You think, and this is, again, I think this is a thing that people kind of delude themselves into when you partner with a Machinima or something. I thought this is what I thought first going into YouTube. Oh, one day I'm going to partner with Machinima, and then I'm going to get all my videos posted on their channel, and I'm going to get so many, my channel's going to explode with viewership once they feature me. That bullshit. Unfortunately.
I was going to say that larger YouTubers who have gotten their stuff on the Polaris channel have found that there are less views on the Polaris channel than there are on their own home channels. Total Biscuit and Jesse Cox both figured that out. I'm a big fan of the of podcasts in general because I have to do a lot of driving, you know, around here. So I just literally throw it on my phone and I just play the podcast and I hear them bitch about these things. And, you know, I believe that Jesse just disconnected himself from Polaris because of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, it's funny because I was going to say earlier that the only network I would ever even consider joining is Polaris. And the only reason why is because I would like the opportunity to get to work with such people as, you know, Total Biscuit, Jesse Cox, Mathis Games,
Roawyn.
You know, all these people I'm, you know, definitely I watch and I enjoy their content. So,
okay,
but
Roawyn.
yeah.
Roawyn, the people they bring on are maybe 80,000 to 200,000 subscribers. They're not colossal. You know what I mean? Like 80,000 subscribers is just a few times larger than I am. But
yeah,
the
drop in the bucket.
yeah, exactly. Compared to the millions that they have, what they're looking for is, number one, they're looking for solid content, and number two, they're looking for people who are outgoing, who are going to actually, you know, reach out to them and say, hey, I want to be on this thing. Here's some of my work. Here's my portfolio, as it were. And that's what it comes down to is you miss every single pitch you don't swing at. That's what it comes down to. And that opportunities are there. Opportunities are there, which is why I'm very glad to be here with Josh of Shoddycast, because, you know, his channel is much larger than mine. Matt here is smaller, and I do these little clip shows to get people over to his stuff, which I'm absolutely fine to do. And Roawyn, I want to make some video game content with you that we can maybe, you know, get people over to your channel. I'm absolutely fine with that.
I would love that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So if we help each other, then you'll find that you'll end up with a better situation in general. We don't all have that protective umbrella of curse.
He's got the curse.
In the good way, though, yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. The beautiful thing about YouTube, because I do think there's a sense of community on here and this idea of paying it forward. I remember we were a channel of, I think, no more than 30,000 subscribers at the time when Jesse Cox, guest, you know, just like I'm doing right now with you guys, he was a guest on our Elder Scrolls Online podcast, you know.
I didn't know that.
This is a guy who I think at the time he had 600, 700,000 subscribers, and he did that for no other reason than just, you know, out of kindness. So if what you want is collaboration, and that's another thing that you don't have to go to a Machinima or a Polaris for. I would love to think that I join Polaris tomorrow and then I just become best friends with Total Biscuit and Jesse Cox and all them. Yeah, that would be great, right? But you don't need a network to allow you to do that. Like Zarek said, you can go and just go out there, put yourself out there, and collaborate. It's not as hard as most people think it is.
That's right. But you'd be surprised. Just what I do. I sit here in front of the camera and I talk to the camera about things. You know, sometimes, like I did my video most recently called "What If Skyrim Was Good," and it was before it was "What If Oblivion Was Good." People keep shouting, "You need to work for Bethesda," but the answer is no one who criticizes a company ever gets hired by that company. They get hired by the competitors of that company. Anyway, where I'm going with this is, like the ability to stand there and criticize something you actually like and be confident about it. That's not a skill everybody has, and that's why a lot of people don't put their face forward, and they find it. And when they do, they're wearing a character, and you'll find very often that when it comes to just reaching out and socializing with another person, it's very, very difficult. My wife is an introvert. I'm an extrovert. So, you know, we have very different ways about doing things. If I told her to go out and, you know, get 3 people to help me, she'd be mortified at that concept. So, that's just the way it works. I mean, not everyone has it, and I'm happy to help those who do, but that's pretty much just how it goes. I rambled again. Sorry.
Right.
Speaking of which, we haven't heard from Matt in a while.
No, I'm just listening.
Yeah.
Any ending thoughts?
Sorry, Matt. We went way off the rails. I just realized.
I actually had to disappear because I had to deal with my dogs for a sec, so
yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, you get YouTubers in a room talking about YouTube, and it can go on for. I could be here for another week talking about this stuff.
All right. So anything else? I think we were talking about the companies going after the licensing guy, but I think we covered that. So.
Yep. I mean, what it comes down to is we look at what happened with the Fine Brothers fiasco, and we are really afraid of this convergence of media that is coming, where we look at that Shadow of Mordor deal that was happening before, where anyone who was trying to cover Shadow of Mordor early on would get copyright struck, and the only people who were allowed to cover Shadow of Mordor early on were the people who agreed to a deal where they would only speak positively about the game, and they would do shout outs for this and these kind of companies getting their teeth into it. We're afraid of that. We're afraid of this, as I said, the convergence of media, where we have our rights taken away from us, and that isn't that big a deal right now because we've got certain protections, but those protections are being eroded away as we see more and more people exploiting the system that is in there to protect copyright holders. I mean, I have actually sent copyright takedown notices to other people using content that was never intended for YouTube, but it featured me. You know, I actually did appear in a couple videos which were intended for closed organizations only. And when they appeared on YouTube, I did copyright strikes, and the people who I had worked for previously were sour. But keep in mind, they never paid me to do that. I did this out of the goodwill of my heart, knowing that it would only be shown to select people at select meetings in boardrooms, more or less.
And how did that end up?
It ended up with the copyright strike. It took it down, and they did not pursue it in court because, it's me, and there was no written contract. I just did it out of the kindness of my heart, meaning that if they had a waiver from me, that would have been different. My point is that I have been on both sides. I've used the copyright takedown system when it is appropriate, and I've seen people exploit it, and I have had my content exploited by the system. I see both sides of it, and it pisses me off. That's all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so basically the ending thoughts is the system needs to adjust. So basically mine are, don't disable the account, just hide it from public view until it's dealt with. Lower the time limit for the claims, put the money in a separate account, and don't limit the person's privileges when they get a claim until the third one, which is the full disable.
Matt, the number one thing on your list that needs to happen is the escrow. The money needs to go into escrow, and it needs to be given to the winner of the dispute, because as long as they are able to take the money, that's where the issues come from. Mm-hmm. The money being the love of money being the root of all evil, as it were.
Yep. Josh?
Yes, I totally agree. You can't incentivize abuse, and that's what's happening right now, right? People are getting rewarded for abusing the system. That's the ultimate thing. We got to rip the rug out from under them there, and I think it'll be a huge step in the right direction.
Rowan?
Why don't the accusers have a 3-strike rule as well? If you accuse somebody and then that claim gets rejected, you should get a strike. I guarantee channels wouldn't be doing it very often if they could risk losing their channel.
The problem is Viacom. Again, that whole the system by which this has come about is the problem. I don't see there's something I'm uncertain about, and I'm kind of afraid of, and that's that YouTube may have made a contract out of court, like, you know, they settled out of court to set up the system and keep the system in place in perpetuity. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that YouTube doesn't have a choice in the matter, and if that is true, then we're in for some rough times and possibly even a platform transition in the future.
Okay. So anything else?
I just wanted to interject one more thing with the automatic content ID matches. That it's really, really frustrating for me with the Fallout 4 videos, because disabling the in-game radio music does not work. It is a broken setting that does nothing. If you turn the music and the radio volume down all the way if there's an in-game radio, it will still play music, and almost every video I upload gets content ID flagged immediately because of this, and it's very, very frustrating.
Dealt with it that he turns off the radios every time he sees it.
Well, that's what we've done, but even so, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Fix your game, Bethesda. Fix your game.
All right, Josh.
I guess my parting thought for the people listening here, because some of them might be wondering, oh well, how can I help? What can I do to help you guys out? I guess I would just tell everyone to stay vigilant. Stay vigilant. Support your communities. If the community and listeners and viewers would continue to have the back, as it were, of their content creators and stuff, I think ultimately we will win the day with this.
Also, those of you who have seen the WTFU, that hashtag, and have noticed the conversation going on far too long, and maybe the conversation has started to die a little bit, start the conversation up again.
Absolutely.
Cite recent events, anything. If you have had a video flagged, post it on Twitter, post it on Facebook, use the hashtag, tell people about it, direct it at some of the larger channels, the million subscriber channels, the 100,000 subscriber channels, and get some traction going on it again, because we can't let the conversation die. That's the most important thing. Companies, time is on the company's side, just like time is on politicians' side, because people forget about things, and we can't afford to forget about this.
It reminds me of the Guy Fawkes mask and the remember the 5th of November. Should be remember the where's the fair use, and never let it die.
That's right.
All right, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening to the Migrant Thought podcast. So, see you, everyone. This is Zarek, Rowan, Josh, and don't forget to kiss your alien. Bye, everyone.
Bye.